Okay, by cell phone time it's 4:15. I was telling some of you my goal is to be out of here by 5:23 at the latest. Earlier would be good. Later if we need to.
You in? Okay, good.
Whatever works.
Session farm at 5:23.
Thank you.
I had some.
That's really good.
Had some requests for agenda additions, so we could entertain those as long as they fall under the purview of something that we do. You know, as an advisory group, we don't have any policy making thing, so if it's something that falls under the purview of what we've been discussing, we could do that. I had several people contact me. Anybody want to suggest additions for the agenda?
I already emailed him.
I did too,
I
but
didn't write them down. So
Oh,
give me
wellness, for the non-insured, wellness program for the non-insured in the district.
Okay.
I'll explain it maybe there, it won't be real long.
All right.
And then, the extra weekend, the other thing I wanted was, it's something under extra duty schedule,
Okay.
so it'll be there.
With regard to Hilliard's, a consistent movement on the salary schedule for 9-month employees, it's been kind of all over the place and just some kind of a consistent policy.
Are you talking about program length?
No, just the length of contract and what they.
Oh, that's program.
Or like when they're bumped
Right.
over on
Right.
the pay
Right.
scale, like to masters.
Yeah,
but
just some
their
clarification.
programs are a little different.
Yeah.
Okay. Program length, we won't discuss, that's an administrative function. If we want to talk about movement from like bachelor's to
That's-
bachelor's plus
Right.
16,
Yeah, I think
Right.
that's
that we could discuss.
right.
Movement on the Hilliard's.
Pay scale.
Right.
And then you had to do
well, that will go under additional
additional pay
pay
rate.
rates.
Okay.
But we had a thing about the assessment, the proposed assessment budget and the cost and all of those things, if we have time. I worked on it a little bit yesterday, so I don't have to, so it
Okay.
won't be a big deal.
Well, you probably know more about it than I do.
Sorry.
And then if we could, clarification on the tracker on the time clock system. I had some people ask me about clarification on the GPS tracking on the time clock system. Just some clarification on it if we could.
GPS tracking? Is that what you said?
Yes.
All right, anything else
We'll try.
to add to the agenda? And I think that we're still not looking at lots of long topics
No.
here. Okay.
I don't think so.
The next thing were the minutes from March 9th. It's been a long time since we met. It's been so long, I think I lost my copy of the minutes. I don't have my copy with me. Wes, can you reach that? Anybody see anything on the minutes that? You want to discuss?
Would you entertain a motion to approve?
We haven't been going that formally, but
I think it looks good. You're good, Dr. Carson.
good? Okay.
Okay, so
All
you
right.
guys are just gonna do thumbs up?
Yeah. Or
The insurance update, all I wanted to mention on that, I mean, I think you guys all have the most up-to-date information in terms of same premium, same policy. The only thing I wanted to, if you have a chance and want to stress to your people, that the last day for the open enrollment is tomorrow. Now, that's only, I mean, if they want to leave everything the same, they don't have to do anything, but they do need to understand if they have, you know, if they deduct for the pre-tax dollars.
Cafeteria.
Cafeteria plan, they have to do that every year. That does not roll over.
that's what my question was, because that email was like, if you want the same, just leave it. And I know, and I thought we had to re-enroll in dental because it was a new, our vision, we don't.
when I did mine, the dental
still
that I had
marked.
was there.
Okay.
The
I
only
didn't
thing that
remember.
wasn't there that was what I
Your pre-tax dollars.
pre-tax
Okay.
contribution, yeah.
we
So if you want to
just
just shoot out an email to your groups, I mean, it went out to every employee today from the superintendent's office, I think, but.
Yeah, and it says unless you're making changes, unless you have an FSA account.
Yeah.
Well,
Flex and FSA are the
oh,
same.
I was thinking
Like
HSA.
savings
Sorry.
account, Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But again, you know, if you want to send it out, maybe this reminder somebody will read. If they read one out of every 5, if we give them 3, maybe they'll get one of them. Any questions on the insurance?
The wellness kind of falls under that. Can I ask that?
Sure.
There was, so this year the uninsured were, the ones that are uninsured outside of our district were able to participate in the wellness program to get their wellness a day. They had to do 2 extra things, I guess. There was a couple people who questioned if that would stay for next year too. If they're not insured, can they still participate and get their wellness a day? And there was some contradictory information about that.
Okay, from whom did the information come?
I think Britain,
She said
saying
yes-
that she
said yes or
wasn't
no.
sure if it was going to remain that way for people who aren't uninsured underneath our district policy. My concern is, you know, if they're participating in that and they're healthy and they're here, and really they're saving us money by us not having to insure them, $100 for a sub is once a year might be okay.
Yeah, and my personal opinion, which is worth absolutely nothing, is that I think we should continue that.
Okay. And she might have just said that because she did not know, or maybe there had been discussion of not doing that to save money.
Well, I don't think the money is the issue because probably
There's not a
4/5 to 5/6 of our people are insured anyway, and then whatever percentage of them would get a wellness day, that would be a minuscule amount. The only potential holdup I could see would be if Blue Cross changed some sort of regulation because they subsidize our wellness program.
Okay.
And they may have said, listen, if they're not taking their insurance with us, we're not
We're not.
subsidizing.
And they pay for, so Blue Cross
They give us
pays
a-
for our substitute?
They give us a $50,000 off the top amount of money to run our wellness program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so in essence, they provide the bulk of the money that goes to the total wellness program. And if there's something in their guidelines, we wouldn't want to jeopardize 50,000 to,
For,
yeah.
okay.
So,
Right, that's just something we need to,
do you know anything additional on that, Wes?
The way I understood it was they're just gonna give us the money.
And you do with it.
well,
what
there'll be
you
a
want.
lot of people.
It changes
Let's
next
just
year
have a party.
because of the.
Because of the going to self-funding,
Yeah.
I think they just said, yeah, we'll,
Okay,
so.
Okay.
um,
then
If
that
that's the
probably won't be an
case,
issue then.
I don't foresee any change to that. What do you think, committee board?
I wouldn't see any change.
Dr. Neward, do you have any additional information on that?
I don't think it is changing.
Okay.
But I want to check with Britt.
Yeah, that was just a concern that was,
Okay, I'll ask Britton about that.
And that was
and
my
shoot-
thing.
shoot you an email. Okay. The additional pay rates schedule, the extra duty, the Hilliard, all 3 of those. I met with Lori and Tammy, as I do periodically, about this, and I had the same concern myself. I'm very hesitant to add anything to any of those 3 things that wasn't discussed all the way along. We spent 4 or 5 months talking about how do we want to allocate the money that the board is willing to give, and I think it was, if not a unanimous decision, almost unanimous, that, hey, we're going to put it all towards salaries. So I really don't, I don't think it's true to the process that we followed to add anything at this point in time. What I believe we should do, all of those things are worthy things, I'm not saying that, but I think we should start a list tonight and start working on those next August or September.
And are you talking about that for the extra duty schedule?
For
right?
all
Not
of
for
them.
for the additional pay rates?
Additional pay
too?
rates and extra,
Okay.
yeah.
I think that would be the fair.
Once we have a revenue source, we can't do a whole lot without a revenue
Well,
source.
that will color our entire discussion, while we're waiting to see if that happens.
If we could do a more formalized, we talked about the parking lot, maybe make that a section of it. You know, it'd be good to revisit those on a basis and see how we're moving along on those items.
Because there are a lot of people in this district doing jobs they once were paid for nothing.
I'm not debating that at
No.
all with you, Lisa.
And we're not even
And they're
debating
doing
that
that
it's not
because
that they shouldn't
that's
get
for
paid.
kids, but
Right.
Right, and
I mean,
we're
if
not
you want
saying
them
they
to
shouldn't
keep-
get paid.
I know.
We're saying this isn't the year we're gonna put on schedule for next year.
But we want them to
We wanna
keep
consider
doing
that
it,
with the revenue
too.
source. Yeah.
I think just the thought that we have an actual physical list somewhere would be it would at least be a step, so.
I think we've talked about that for several months.
Because we started making a list at the last meeting, didn't we? I
And
had
then
it
we
written
checked
in.
it twice, but we found some naughty people, so we quit.
Darn.
So tonight we could brainstorm.
I think that we have that at the end, don't we?
Yeah, what we did when we did that stipend committee is we said, if you want to be, you need to turn in paperwork on this and
But I don't
actually
understand how National Honor Society didn't make that cut then.
didn't turn in
No,
the paperwork.
a lot of what you guys mentioned was not turned in on our original list
Yep.
of however many those were, on our color-coded. A
Yes, we
lot
did.
of those
Yes, we
were.
just put a call out, we said, we need to know approximately how many hours you're doing, what are the duties, and the people that turned it in, they're the ones that got on the list. I mean, I hate to say it, but maybe they were too busy, I don't know.
Well, very well
I mean,
could be, it's
Very
that
well
time of
could
year
be,
too.
that's right. 'Cause it
Well,
in the
this was at the
spring.
beginning of the
Yeah,
year,
we-
but you're just as
Yeah,
busy.
we addressed the salary schedule starting in, what,
Right.
October?
October.
Right.
So, is everyone okay with that? We'll start a formalized list of those things and then just go from there. I will compile the formalized list. If any of you who have suggestions for anything that would typically fit under the extra duty schedule or additional pay rates, just email them to me and I'll.
Well, if we could, Brian, I mean, just to streamline the process, if we're gonna make the formalized list, maybe those people could be notified, said, start keeping track of your duties. The board's actually looking at doing this, so we know what we're looking at going forward. It would save us having to look backwards later, if you think. I mean, it doesn't matter, but I know that's what we started doing. We started tracking hours last year of what we need to do on different, it worked pretty well.
So you're saying a general email to everyone, saying if you are currently doing an extra duty that you're not being paid for, that you were paid for in the past, or you feel warrants an extra duty stipend, email Dr. Kraus and let him know. And then we don't count on people. I mean, then that opens it up to every person to be responsible, to do it themselves.
It's on
Number
them.
one, we've got to do a whole lot
Right.
of people being responsible.
There you go, I agree.
But then you know everybody got. the
Everybody got it, so we don't,
information,
and that takes it off
Right.
some of your shoulders
There
to
you go.
contact
Continuity.
1,800 people, but then you're gonna get bombarded.
And then the
That's
tracking
fine,
part can
but
be the
I
same
just-
for everybody too.
I need to make sure that in the email it's clear that just because you track your hours doesn't
Doesn't mean
guarantee-
you're doing
Right, well, you're gonna write the email, I mean, I assumed you would, so you could spell it out.
Well, one of the new things too is parents as teachers used to do our kindergarten stuff. Well, they're not anymore, and so that's falling on the kindergarten teachers as an extra duty, and they're doing it.
I'm sorry, I was writing, I can't. hear what I'm
Kindergarten
writing.
is one of those new duties, because parents as teachers used to do the screening and the different nights for them, but they're not doing that
Our
anymore. And so
kindergarten teachers.
kindergarten teachers are now doing it, and it is an extra duty. And it's a substantial amount of time.
I know, why is the parents as teacher?
We had a committee together at the beginning of the year that really looked at it and what did we want that process to be. And one of the things that came from our teachers was we want to get to know our kids and we would like to be involved in that. There's also a funding piece that PAT used to get reimbursed from doing that and they don't do that anymore. As we look at our kindergarten attendance, how can we build positive relationships at the kindergarten level with school employees? And so having the school nurse and counselor and teachers involved with the family the first time they walk in the door, we felt as a team was a positive thing and a step in the right direction. So they are doing it, however, they are doing it during their contract day.
Kinder club is
During the
in the evening
No,
time
they're in
though.
the evening.
So that would be kinder club,
Yeah,
not kindergarten enrollment.
Right.
So if
Well,
you
dude,
want,
I went to Parkway's enrollment and it was at night.
That was a parent meeting. And we've done that yearly, and like, we were at our school for an hour.
it's been an annual thing.
But kinder, what'd you just?
Kinder club
Club, that would be something
could
that
be
could be
something on
considered
an
as an extra duty.
yes.
Kinder club could be something considered as an extra.
I just know they're having to do.
What's a positive? You're looking at, you're
Right.
wanting input from the employees and we value you, and, I mean, it's a real positive thing here. You know, but to move forward, we need this information to move forward. It could be really a positive development.
But I would
And
make
other
sure that
people
you
get
do
paid
say, Dr. Kraus, what you
during
said,
those
and that
nights.
it doesn't mean you're going, it's just
Right,
a
right.
consideration.
Sure.
Because we don't want to give false hope.
Yeah.
And if
Right.
you could include the tracking form that everybody's going to use.
Oh my, yeah, it could be really good.
One tracking form, and
Yeah, that looks.
there you go, that just added a little bit more.
Does
you want me to make that
anybody
form?
But
have,
it's
does
true.
anybody have
Everybody
a
should do
current
the same.
copy of what
Sure.
that tracking form looked like?
Do you want me to make that for you?
If
Do you
someone
want me
could
to
make a
draft
tracking
we've got
form, I
one
would
somewhere.
that? We can draft one
Yeah.
for you, I'm sure.
See, they're gonna help you out.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Okay, I'll try and get that out. I doubt that'll happen until next week, but
That's all right.
we've got time.
It's Thursday. You only have one more day
Come
in the
on.
week.
Okay,
That's
so
24 hours to get that one.
I'm going to send out an email, the essence of which will be if you're doing extra duties that once were compensated or duties you believe should be compensated either as extra duty or additional pay rates, please let me know. Helpful information collect would include hours spent, number of kids served, and just with a big disclaimer that doing this does not guarantee you're going to be
There you go.
compensated.
But it guarantees consideration.
There you
Guarantees
go.
consideration.
That's all they're asking for.
Okay.
Guarantees consideration.
Recognition.
All right. So, in my mind, that does away with additional pay rates, extra duty schedule, and Hilliard. The only thing I wanted to point out to you on additional pay rates, and somebody had sent me an email that kind of morphs into this. The only change I made to this from the last time you saw it, and I don't know if somebody printed it off or have it up, there, on the very first page, the third and fourth lines were acuity and acuity specialists. And my understanding of this, and I probably know a lot less about this than a lot other people in the room, but my understanding is that acuity is being phased out. It's not being supported by the company. And then also, if you remember months ago, Dr. Lau came and made a presentation when we were talking about additional staff to kind of revamp. Her current assistant is retiring, and she wants to rework the position into a certified position with a few more duties, those types of things. That proposal will go to the board May 8th. And so if that goes away, well, either way, the acuity stuff would not be done anymore. So that's the only difference from what you saw last time.
And that money goes into that new person.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah, it does.
And we figured it would be about a break even. Did you visit with Dr.
Yeah, I
Love?
stopped, I stopped by and talked to her about
Okay.
it. No, with them. So
Is
yeah,
that-
those monies move into that person because she wants to take Nancy's position and make it a certified
Right, so
position.
it's the same amount of FTEs, reworking of the position.
Yeah.
And really, if there's an additional cost, it will be very minimal.
Yep.
Dr. Kraus, just for clarification, that on what we were emailed is not the most updated, correct?
That is
Okay.
correct. But like I said, the only difference are those lines 3 and 4, the two that deal with acuity now have red.
Perfect. Yeah, we got it. Thank you.
You sent us the updated one. You sent it right after you sent mine.
Okay,
I jumped.
that's right, I just
Yeah,
must
because I
not,
think there was two.
Thank you.
yeah, that's right, I said, yeah, I just got this 30 seconds after I did send. So Dr. Norman apparently doesn't read her emails.
Not all of them.
Fish.
We're gonna start calling you
Hey,
Dennis. We're gonna start calling her Dennis.
She reads from other people, just not mine. She filters.
Or is that training for your people?
That's for some reason.
Is that for the people?
Okay, so then in terms of additional pay rates, extra duty and Hilliard, anything else before we move on?
There was, I talked to Dr. Norman about Reader's Workshop, there's a line item there, and being somebody to practice is Reader's Workshop, and it's been in an elementary building. I wasn't sure what that fell under, and I don't
Yeah.
think she really knew either.
So I think that one
It can be
taken off.
removed, and then the reading assessment underneath it, Or it says recommended by Dr. Williams. Is that for retired teachers to come in and test?
No, the part that was recommended, and that's West Metz.
West Metz.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
That was just
WM, not
the,
MW.
That would be him.
Sorry, Wes.
that was the after taxes part. Just that everybody's tax rate's different, there's no way to pay that. So it was they were gonna stay there at $50 and $100, but the after taxes
Who are we
figuring.
paying to give reading assessments? Is
Yeah,
that
that's my
part of our
question.
job?
Who are we giving those monies to?
We do
Can
that
someone help me?
in
I
our
don't know.
contracting.
The reading assessments, Dr. Norman,
I'm
do you
not aware
know?
of approving any of them this year.
I didn't know, because I know
It's special ed.
when the young, what?
It's special ed.
I think it is. It's I think it may be the whisk or the waste, whatever they're using. For
But
But
that's
that would
during
never be
contract time.
half class or whole class either.
I think it's for special ed. I think it's under Denise's. It's some kind of
I'll
testing.
find
You gotta be qualified to do the testing.
Well, yeah, but if you're assessing students, you're doing
I
it
don't
during
know.
contract day. That's our question.
It's down below special ed assessment, administration and
That's
scoring.
All I
different,
know
yeah.
is I saw the after, or.
You just change it to after taxes.
I
You
just
really don't know what
want
it
to
is.
be- 'cause
I'll ask Dr.
They either get
Cole
$50
about
or
that.
$100. You pay your own taxes.
I mean, I assess my kids at least once a
Yeah, I
semester. I would love $100 when that happens.
Quarters,
Or once a quarter.
primary,
You have to do it after
Once a
school
quarter.
hours. Keep your kids
I
after
will.
school.
For $100?
So Alyssa, were you saying you didn't feel like the reader's workshop, or Dr. Norman, does that apply anymore?
We talked and we don't think that,
You can take it off.
we couldn't think of a time where you would pay somebody hourly for a reader's workshop.
Not after the day.
Other than training.
Well, new
and
teachers
training would
get
fall under
PD,
another
yeah,
line
it's
anyway.
different. So there
Okay.
shouldn't be.
All right, so reader's workshop, I'll take off of there, and then I'll inquire about the 2 reading assessment ones, and if they're no longer necessary, I'll take them off
Okay.
as well.
Or inform us how that works.
Okay.
Yeah, please do, because maybe we should.
I
have been
remember
here.
having that conversation, and I thought too that it had something to do with special ed, but I'll figure it out.
But that doesn't
I'll find
make
out.
You
The
did, you
whole-
talked about it being retired people that come in to
When they
test
assess.
during the school day
So is that
though.
like K1 too?
I don't know, but you did talk about it, and it was when retired people
Active
come in to
retirees
help
were
with the
coming.
testing load, and they're not
Yeah.
contracted, so you have to pay them for their time. And I don't know if
That's
that's
it.
accurate, but I do know
That
that that
could
was
be
a
it.
conversation.
Isn't
That when they
that
just
had.
get it, because don't they just get a sub? That's what they do.
If there's so many, sometimes they bring in a retired person
Oh,
to
they have
help
somebody help
with.
test also.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
On
bring
top
active
of the sub.
retirees in to help with it, but I'll double check on
Yeah,
that. and then-
that could be, that was my other thought, could be that.
Okay. Anything else on those? The next bullet point there, make a list of items to consider for next year. We kind of developed a vehicle to do that with. Well, actually, let's skip to the bullet below that. We talked about this just briefly, whether or not to meet on May 18th. Our bylaws say that we're supposed to meet every month when school is in session. This year we didn't get started, and I don't know if that means a full month. It doesn't say. What are you guys' feelings on? I mean, that's the last week of school. Things are crazy. Do we want to meet? Do we not want to meet? If there's interest and you think we have things to discuss, by all means, let's meet. But I don't want to meet just for the sake of saying we had a meeting either.
Technically, contracts are done the 17th.
Oh, are they?
Yep.
Okay.
So I would
But
say
unless,
meet
do
again
we
in
have
August.
something we need to get done before August? Do we have stuff we need to talk about before August?
Well, I don't know, and that was my purpose for putting make a list of items to consider. I didn't know if we could compile a list tonight. If we say we're not going to meet in May, what are your guys' thoughts? Do we meet in May or not? Let's talk about that first.
It's going to facilitate planning for next year and generating wish lists and all that other stuff that we just absolutely dragged ourselves through molasses in the first couple of months, and I'd say yes.
Do you remember the molasses part?
Oh, yeah. I'm still
Because
trying to shower it
He
off.
was sitting next to me going,
Traumatic
beating a dead horse.
We could, I mean, we could
Ladies,
start those
are you guys
lists.
even under contract on the 18th?
We end
Two
on the
yeses?
last day.
Well, yeah, you're at
We land on
260
the
now.
16th.
Julie, are you?
Well, I mean, school ends for us the 16th, then I start summer school the very next Monday, so.
Okay.
So really, that's your time off
Yes, it-
between school and summer school?
Yeah,
But this isn't a contracted thing, they're not paying.
No, but you just hate to.
We all are, you aren't, Wes?
No, it's like that.
Lori
It's
puts
a
a
hidden item on the additional.
He makes me clock out.
It's an additional period.
an
We
additional
can
period.
start the list tonight, and then if we need it.
And we're getting paid after taxes too.
Well, we want to take this back to our groups too, and say,
Well,
we're at the end of the year, we've accomplished X, Y, Z. Let's look forward to next year. Let's not look at the hood ornament. Let's look out at the horizon. And let's see if there's input from it.
Sounds poetic, doesn't it?
He has a pretty
It's a
cool
beautiful
ornament.
word.
His car's pretty
Yeah.
All right, so just let's take a straw vote here. This is non-binding, it won't hold up in court. If you want to meet the 18th of May, raise your hand. There's 12 voting members, we got 3.5.
I'll be around, so I'll do whatever I want.
Okay, how many of you don't want to meet May? How many of you?
I don't think that I can.
Okay, how many of you are just totally ambivalent? Okay.
But we
Um,
can't vote.
Hence, do we want to move it up a week?
We don't matter.
Move it up a week.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I guess we could move
Okay,
it.
no, never mind.
We can't move
So-
it.
I already have my calendar set.
Okay.
Yeah, no moving it.
Yeah, it's already on the calendar.
All right, so I'm going to prepare a mini agenda for the 18th, and then I'm going to poll you, and if at least a quorum, which would be 7 of the 12 voting members, don't say they're coming, then we won't have a meeting. Is that agreeable?
Then we can take up with that list in August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that
We're not
sound
gonna
reasonable
accomplish
to
much
everyone?
Do we
before
start
August.
in August or September?
Well, this year we started in September.
But we
I
probably need to
believe.
start on.
That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
I think we could, because we were in the process of electing representatives and all of that, which took some time.
And now we have so much groundwork laid that we should be able to move a little bit.
Yeah.
A little faster than molasses.
Yeah.
And
Keep
get
telling
more
yourself.
accomplished.
Okay,
Hey,
so
now,
here's the
there's a big
plan.
difference between this.
I'm going to send out an email a couple weeks before the 18th saying how many of you voting members are planning to attend. If I get at least 7, which is a quorum, we'll have the meeting. If I don't, I'll send an email out saying it's canceled.
Deal.
Everyone okay with that? All right, so then moving back to making the list and checking it twice. I don't see any reason why this, let's leave that for last and do these things that got added, and then we'll be able to judge our time. Somebody said extra duty schedule, did we address that
Yep.
issue? Okay. Todd, tell us more about moving on the Hilliard schedule, what your concern was.
It's text message, so, yeah, it's, go ahead.
I believe after, because they're specialized programs, they don't always have a master's option. And so they were told if they got their bachelor's in teaching, that they could move over to the master's
Yep.
section. Also, after X amount of years working as an instructor, they could move over.
I don't remember the X amount of years. I remember a career certificate or something
Right.
that they got.
Okay.
That's what we're.
Because there are a
we're
couple
planning
people
for.
that do have that did get
Right.
moved over.
They get
But I
their
know,
career
I know the
But I don't think
difference.
it's been
Right.
consistent.
That's what it is.
That's what I think it needs to be formalized. I mean, there.
Well, which is our plan for next year. If you remember right,
Right.
Hilliard's was put on hold until next year because it is such a ball of wax and it is such a big thing in its own,
Right.
that was gonna be an undertaking for next year that we were gonna do just with Hilliard's.
So we're not gonna honor those career certificates until
Let me
after
tell
next
you
year?
what we're gonna do.
You tell us what we're gonna do.
Here's what we're gonna do. The last time that was board approved, it came on a separate sheet. It was a one-page document that spelled out, if you have this, you get moved to here, and if you have that, you move to there. The last time that was board approved was 2014-15. Now, in the 5 HR directors between Doug Flowers and myself, it never got back to the board.
Right.
Okay, I found that buried a couple of weeks ago.
All right.
I don't think it would be fair not to honor that.
Okay,
So yes, everybody, they're going to be.
there'll be a group brought to the board then?
I don't.
Or-
I've only heard from 2 people.
Yeah, there was 2 that were advancing that were concerned, and that, so they're gonna be honored. I think that's the goal there.
Yes.
That's what we
Okay,
want.
and I think that'll take care of that for this year.
Yeah. No, like I said, I don't think it wouldn't be fair not to do it.
Okay,
And so we're gonna move them just like
Good
the
deal.
sheet says, and then we'll bring that back
There's not a board policy that says not to do it. If there were a board policy,
Right.
that'd be another story. There's not.
So yeah, anybody who either, whether it was got their career certificate or whatever
Okay.
degree, will honor what that sheet from 14-15 says.
Yeah, they were just concerned they had spent money on certification. That's great. Okay, that's great. I think that'll solve that.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep. Anything else on that topic? Okay. Proposed assessment budget, tell me about that, Melissa.
Well, we had just received concerns about the amount of money that moving to hybrid is going to cost, especially when we are continually hearing the financial state that our district is in and where we're potentially headed, because it is a significant amount of money. I talked with Dr. Williams a little bit yesterday because we were in a meeting together and she explained kind of, we are getting rid of acuity, and while that doesn't completely offset the cost, this is also a program for K-10 rather than just K-6. It's also, our community keeps wanting us to invest in our students, and this is doing that. So I think it's just, I think we do have to educate, our staff, but also just the community, because I could see people seeing that number and be like, well, I thought you needed money. If you have this amount of money to spend on this program, you must be doing okay. So I think we just need to be proactive about that and communicate clearly, because just seeing the number, it is a very large number. So she answered a lot of the questions that people had, and I told her I would take it back, but I had already emailed you.
Okay, that's fine.
So
In what context did this discussion happen? Was this a group of some kind, or just you and her, or?
we had a meeting about summer school yesterday, so afterwards I just said, I have a question for you, because I didn't know that you would probably have the answer.
No,
so I figured while she was there, I would.
But who are you hearing it from? A group of people?
From members that had seen information in the board documents and things about the cost. Just concerned. I thought we didn't have money, and here we are spending a lot of money.
I would probably answer that as a board member in the same context as we don't have money, but we're willing to spend $3 million on our employees, because we value you and we want you. Okay, so that's another place where we would be willing to spend that money because it's such an awesome program, and it has to do with educating our kids. And so that would, I wouldn't worry about that perception, because that's how I would say it as a community member and as a board member. I would
just
say
think you're just educating people, because just to see the number, it is a very large number. And like, wait a second, I thought we didn't have money to spend, and
it does need to be framed with the offsets and benefits. You're absolutely
yes, yes. And I did have a question, because I've heard different things on the technology side of it. We have been told it's going to be 1 to 2 in the K-2 classrooms, correct, as far as devices go?
I can't speak to that specific point.
Okay, but so that is every classroom is going to have 1 to 2, not a cart that we have to share.
It's going to be a cart.
Then that's not 1 to 2.
Between the two classrooms.
That's not 1 to 2. Then that's 1 to 4. So we need to be transparent about that and know that it's not truly 1 to 2.
There's going to be a cart for every 2 classrooms.
Then that's not 1 to 2. Because if it's a 1 to 2, that means for every.
How many are in a cart?
2 kids.
There's 30.
There's a computer.
30. There's 30 on a cart.
30
So
on
then
a
that
cart.
would be one.
There's supposed to be
When you
enough.
have your cart, every kid has one.
So there may be 2 carts for 3 classrooms. There's going to be enough devices for every 2 students, 1 device.
For K-2.
For K-2, but there's going to be on carts. We can't put 15 in your classroom, 15,
Because the carts keep them.
The carts are where it's going to keep them charged, keep them contained.
Understandably so, that becomes a scheduling problem, because now you have to work with how many other classrooms to figure this out.
Well, just one other, you and one other. So that's your responsibility to schedule with your
we have the same
co-teacher,
schedules.
partner.
So like, for example,
if you need to use it for something, you may have to switch your schedule.
But they have reading teachers that come in at specific times.
exactly. So for example, if this is supposed to be used as a response to intervention time, ours is first grade has intervention time at this time.
Okay, Melissa,
So
so
therefore-
how many kids do you have in your class right now?
I have 23.
So 23. So there would be 12 computers on the cart that would be for your room, and your teaching partner has 23, 24 kids. There would be 12 computers on the cart
6 left over
for them. So you could, if the cart's stored in your room, your teaching partner comes in the morning and takes the 12 computers off the cart to her room for the day. and you have the cart in your room with the computers that are left over.
And you want it stored in your room because then you get the extra 6.
Well, they don't leave the extra.
They don't leave
They don't leave
the
extra.
Well, you said it
fill
was
a
gonna
card.
be 30, so.
Yeah.
They don't
fill a
leave the
card.
extra.
They just give you however many.
Does that
I
help?
just think it needs, yes, but I do think you need to tell people, because when you say it's 1 to 2, your teachers are thinking, oh, great, finally, I'm gonna have devices in my room. I'm not gonna have to go get them off of a cart. I'm not gonna have to.
Well, we gotta keep them stored
I
somewhere.
understand. Educate. Like, people don't understand that.
All right, well, Tim needs to.
They assume that when you say they're gonna have devices, the devices
They're
are gonna be
getting
in their
their
room
own
in their
set,
own
not
cart.
trying to worry.
I'm gonna chime in here again, and we've taken, and really tried to listen, but also it's one of the reasons why this group is there. You have to help us educate.
When I don't know the answer, though, that's why I'm
Well,
asking the
but
question.
We are giving those answers, and you have to go back and help us educate then as well.
And we do.
Well, right now, what do they have, 5 or 6 per?
Yeah, it's,
Five. So they're
it's an
gonna have-
increase
So
in
they're
the
gonna
amount
have
of devices
double what
we're
they have
having.
now,
Right.
which I would think,
Almost triple.
people will be happy about.
Yeah.
You know, we can't go, I mean, ideally we would want to be 1-to-1, but right now we just didn't have the funds. So
Sure.
we tried to do, we did the best we could with the resources we had.
And it's doubling what they currently
Right,
have.
and it's an increase in what you had. As far as the cards go, we bought the cards because they need to be secure, they need to be charged.
And they stay charged, I mean, I'm Fort Smith, so I
Right.
have,
So,
I
I mean,
have a card,
I
but
don't
they
know
stay
how else
charged pretty
to-
much all day. So you can unplug them in the morning, keep them in your room. While they're new, you can. I don't know how the battery will last
Well, the
as
new
they
ones-
age, but they should
The
be
new
able to
ones are
plug
gonna
them,
be even
keep
better.
them, and then return them at the end of the day.
Right.
We bought enough devices that for every 2 students, there's 1 device. Now, does that mean every room's gonna have exactly 50%? It's not gonna work that way, because we have to keep them on cards, because we don't have enough areas in the room to buy the cards to store just in your room.
Plus, it was a decision of, do we buy more carts or do we buy more computers?
devices.
Carts are expensive.
And so that's why the decision was made that we would share carts, so that we could have more devices.
Right, and that was, all this was taken to the board. I mean, all this stuff was board approved.
That-
They questioned the cards, they questioned the computers, they questioned, you know.
Question everything.
And the tech people are very good when kids are moving in and out. They're very good about, I mean, it's like a 24-hour turnover. The cart, you know, you have your computer if you have your kids, then the next day.
It's
They're
just a
very
change in
swift on that.
logistics and routine, and that doesn't really cost what carts and devices cost. We'll get there hopefully eventually on a 1-to-1, but this is the best we can do
That's
right
not
now
the
with what we've
convenience
got.
and
And
mobility
really,
thing
each
with
building has to
devices.
make up that routine for what
Sure.
works in their building.
Sure.
One, and something we've talked about for years but never done is when you have these carts, I hate to say this, but part of the teacher's evaluation needs to be maintaining the equipment in the room. Yeah, see what I'm saying? Is when the cart gets destroyed and it's in that teacher's room, there needs to be some kind of something that happens there. It's expensive stuff. And there's no
But so does the
accountability.
cart not
Turn
get
it into
moved to
a room,
another
so-
person's
Oh,
room
it's
when they're
terrible.
using it? And that's what we did, we wheeled the cart to the next room, so then there's a group of teachers responsible.
Well, or whoever had it last, fill up the tank in the car, but in this case, we gotta do something, because this technology is getting destroyed, and there's no accountability for it. And then the next teacher in line rolls this cart, and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened here? And there's no accountability for it, and I've been seeing this for, I don't know, 3 or 4
And
years.
again,
now.
that's a building issue to me,
Oh,
that you
yeah.
need to talk with your tech people in your building and your principal, and you need to set up an accountability system within your building.
Well,
That
but
is a
that's-
building
We're not
issue to me.
administrators, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I know, but I'm just saying that's a building issue. That's not something we can solve at United SJSD, you know.
I think
It's not.
that what Melissa's frustration is that we
It
would
wasn't
just
my-
like
I'm-
communication
I'm
to
the
come down.
messenger.
We are okay. It's great that they're gonna have that, but the logistics should come from administration, not us, and then we can reinforce them. Where sometimes we've felt like we're supposed to be delivering all the information, and that doesn't necessarily.
So my
I
question
don't
would
have
be,
the
who would
Right.
communicate that, let's talk about this particular issue, about how many computers there are gonna be per student. Is that Kendra because she's assessment and the majority of the time you're using it for assessment? Is that Roy, or not Roy, but Tim? I'm just looking at Roy thinking Tim. Tim because he is the IT person? Is that Dr. Norman, because she's the director of elementary education? Is that Dr. Norman communicating it to the principals? And I mean, where does that
That's why it
responsibility
makes
lie?
sense.
I mean, how do we know
We
who is the
can-
person to communicate that?
We
That's a
can figure that out.
responsibility that is shared between the directors. In this case, it'd be Tim McKay, Wes, and Michelle, and
Exactly.
and Chris Hubbock.
Okay, because if it's shared, you think they'd be over and dated.
I think,
But
I feel like though, maybe,
everybody
Well,
tells
that
them it,
communi-
and
but then
nobody's telling them.
Then that communication needs to go to the principals,
Mm-hmm.
and it hasn't yet. But also, how many do we have in on these yet? Any?
Oh, none, they won't show up.
No,
till
they
the
won't
summer.
show up to the fall.
So,
That's
So
just
that,
is
we
an
have time to
example.
communicate it. We have time to communicate.
The order's been placed.
And then you're gonna
But
micro
don't you
or
see what I'm
macro
saying? You should
manage.
be inundated. If there's four
Yeah.
different
But
people in
we
charge, you
never
should
are.
receive 4 different communications.
That template's not gonna fit over everybody.
No, and we know that.
Okay.
We know that. And we realize this is a new issue, but this goes back to something we've always
But
had.
you're right, it's
It's
communication,
communication,
cooperation,
and
and
it's not just
dissemination.
about this. This is why she's asking questions, because it was approved in the board. Well, what's that look like? Because teachers plan.
Hey, it's not even finished from my perspective.
You know,
I'm still
so-
hammering on iReady to get us another
Right.
$50,000 off the bill, and so we can pay it in 2
You know.
different fiscal years.
Right. You know.
So
And we
we're
get
all
that,
working on
but
this.
it all goes back to that communication. And like, we should be inundated, but we never are.
we've sent emails out, Alyssa, on many different items. I just had a meeting this afternoon. You know how many people have seen or read some of those that I asked? 3. 3 in that building meeting today. You've got to help us with that halfway.
Well, but
We
really,
do.
Dr.
You don't
New-
need to get
Well,
upset
I'm
with
just-
me.
I'm just saying.
This right here, this is my little, do you see, you could tell I had that ahead of time. This is my communication with Dr. Newhart. He and I have had this conversation that we need to send out an email that says, read all of your
Read your
emails,
emails.
number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, attend board meetings. If you choose not to attend board
Don't read
meetings,
that
read the
one,
agendas
then.
for the board meetings. If you choose not to do that, watch it on YouTube. Read your board recaps. Read your United SJSD minutes, because Dr. Krause, we've talked about
Check
the
the
fact that we
website.
could, wait, I'm not done. I have a whole list here.
She's on a roll.
Don't take my fire. Read your United SJSD minutes, because we're gonna start sending those out to everybody, employee, so that so that they know what happens at every United SJSD meeting. Maybe we can start that with this meeting. Read the website is my next one. And then the last thing would be leadership in your professional, from your professional associations. But, and the whole key is gonna be, it is your
Read it.
responsibility.
No, and
Don't tell me we're not communicating
Well,
until you've done all that, and then come up with something that wasn't in all of that.
So Dr. Newhart's coming to my school tomorrow, after school, and everybody's coming to my room between classes. What's going on? Are we in trouble? And I said, no, it's a positive
It's been
thing.
communicated to building principal.
Right, and that's been wonderful. And see, and I'm saying that's a great opportunity. You're gonna meet your superintendent. It's a great thing. You know, but it's that same thing of, you know, the common communication, common message. And I think that's what the ladies are saying is that common communication. I'm just saying, this could be a good thing. You're gonna meet Dr. Newhart. This could be a real positive thing. Oh. You see what I'm
He's not
saying?
coming to yell at you.
Well, because-
We're not in trouble here. He's not coming up
Because the
with
precedent before was that.
Right.
You can
We're changing that.
see our frustration too.
But yeah,
It's coming from
communication.
Well, and you need to
is
understand
gonna
in
be
the
addressed.
past, when a superintendent showed up in my building, who was the fire principal.
Yeah.
I'm serious, and people think, and you,
I'm not gonna-
I know,
I tell you to
and
get
so
out
it's
of
like,
the building.
wow, what's going on?
How would you?
Yeah, and so you're gonna live with that legacy, and so that's why communication is so
People know
important.
you.
All right, I think we
I
need
do,
to
I
bring
tell
it
them all the
back
time.
in.
I'm thinking the essence of this conversation is everyone needs to communicate more. Can we go on?
There we go.
Yes. Anyway, I wanted you to
That's
know
what
that
it
was
boils
part of
down
the
to.
conversation.
Yeah.
Can I make one comment that you were talking about whose responsibility is this, and then we rattled off 4 people. I think some of the problem becomes Dr. Norman assumes, well, maybe technology is taking care of it.
Exactly.
Technology assumes so-and-so is, so the ball gets dropped because no, it hasn't been clearly defined. Here's what
It's
you're
been
handling.
clearly defined with
Here's-
the directors.
Well, then.
Well, and
It's
Melissa,
been
I-
clearly defined with the directors.
Okay.
if I can address that from my perspective, is that they're not here, and because I know how elementary teachers operate, is there are some unknowns that I don't have, like how many computers per building, how many carts, those logistic pieces that elementary teachers are gonna wanna know, I don't have that.
And again, it's not this particular issue is with this has been an ongoing
But we're gonna get better with that.
issue.
And people are gonna be responsible for their own education on
And
it.
I think the other thing is to say, to ask questions.
Which is what they do through us. We are the messengers, so quit shooting us when we ask questions. We are the messengers.
We do appreciate
We get sent by hundreds of people that stand behind us. So don't shoot us when we come and ask you for help. It doesn't make it a positive working relationship at all.
We do appreciate that, but
But hopefully it'll change, and that'll take some of that
just
off
because
your
we send
shoulders.
an email out though, does not necessarily mean
I carry my
that
bazookas
that is being
at all
read.
times.
Right.
Or just because we post.
Maybe they're reading on a device and it's not registering. I don't know.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him.
I mean, did
This
they
is
send it
true.
after 4?
And most
You
of us
understand?
in this
People
room
are-
are in the upstream, downstream thing. We are caught right in those eddies
Yeah.
and currents and so
You
forth.
guys are.
And we just have to deal with it
And
as
I
best we
think-
can and talk to each other.
I think your current policy of all communications come from your office is smart, because you don't have a lot, too much coming out. And I think that's very wise, as long as it does come out and it's clear, and I think that's wise.
And then it has to be read, and that's what we're gonna.
Oh, and if people have,
That's what we're
they
gonna.
will, if they,
Like everything with urgent.
yeah.
Okay, I think we're clear.
Yes. I
We're
believe so.
better than we were at least.
We're moving on.
We're communicating.
Time clock plus. We're on a new topic, everyone. Time clock plus, what was the issue?
Well, I've had numerous people say, you mean they're tracking me on my device? And so here's the question, what if they delete that feature on their phone? On time clock?
GPS?
You
On the
can't clock in
GPS
and out on your phone.
Yeah, then you clock in and out at school.
Clock in on your computer.
So there's
That's
no
your
re-
convenience to do it
Okay,
on
so
your
there's no re-
GPS.
I'm just, again, I'm just the messenger. I'm just-
So can they not clock in or
Everybody's
out within? I don't know.
I'm just saying,
Here's the issue as I understand it, Todd. There is a GPS feature in Time Clock Plus.
right,
None of you in this room would do it, but some people are not honest. They will clock in, they say they're running late for home, they clock in when they get up late, and that, so it's not known.
sure,
Yeah.
I understand.
So that's why that's needed.
That's the only time the feature is used, if we have reasonable suspicion that somebody is working the system. We see that, hey, if you checked, if you clocked in at Kentucky Fried Chicken, you probably weren't really working at the time.
No, I understand. I mean, I understand why you're doing it, because it could lead to fraud. I understand that. I think there just needs to be, some, again, clarification on that, you know. in
No,
the
I
sense
think
of-
that is people know, because what I find is that people that ask those questions are because they're the ones probably that he's talking about that may not be quite as
I
honest.
don't have a problem with
But
that.
Yeah, most of
That-
them
it's
I
just
do.
at all,
It
but I
just
do work
recently
from home a
popped
lot.
up. And so,
Oh,
and it
so it's
doesn't
like a
matter
new
where
update
you
or
are,
something.
where
Right.
you are in school or anything, and you're like, hello.
Well, it's
and it'll
gonna,
just
it's gonna ping you
keep
4
going
times
and
in a
going and
shift.
going. Yeah,
And it's gonna ping you 4 times in a shift, and it's gonna get present location.
yeah.
So, I mean, unless you keep a
But
log
then
of,
that makes your time off. Because you're waiting for it to
right.
connect.
So why are we using it on our phone anyway?
But
Why
you've
aren't
got
we
that
just using it
6-minute
in the computer at school?
They
Yeah.
can
We don't
do it
have to
anyway.
do this.
Because here's the deal, if
Sometimes you're
you
not
roll
near
in
your
at school,
computer.
like, normally I'm there by 7:15. I get upstairs, get a laptop pulled from the cart, 98% of the time, we can't even log into them. You can't log in under your name, nor can you log in under student. So then you're left with no way to clock in and out.
And then when
You're
you do,
gonna
you're
work for
late.
minutes.
Exactly.
So why is that IT? We don't have IT person here.
Do you know?
That's a Tim McKay
You asked
question.
IT why you can't log in? Is that just a wireless issue? Or
On the laptop.
you don't know?
I
That
don't
should be a
know.
help desk question straight up.
Wes,
If
would you
you're having
like to
problems like
invite us?
that.
Do you guys not have it? We have a computer in our office specifically designated for
Nope.
people to clock
These are,
in.
these are iMacs, and they're ancient, and they're just
Oh.
not, they're just
Half
not.
of our computers
Yeah,
are
they
broken.
run in a Chromebook and it sits in our, I mean, it doesn't do anything other than.
We don't
everything.
have that option. I mean, I don't have
You don't have
anything to
enough to go
hide.
around.
But
Yeah.
my question is, if they want to ping me where I'm at, what if my principal sends me out to do something and it pings me and says, oh, well, you're at Office Depot?
But you should have been reported to work first before your principal
No.
sent you
No.
out.
No,
No,
I'm
no,
saying
no.
during the day.
Oh, during the day.
It pings
Right.
you while
Yeah.
you're talking.
Right.
So then what
Wes,
do you
is that a
do?
new feature?
You want me to?
Yeah.
Explain,
Okay.
Wes.
Yeah.
It's your turn,
This is
Wes.
the first I've heard of it. These are always interesting.
Time Clock Plus did an update. In the update, you can no longer turn off the GPS locator.
Yeah.
The phones are for convenience only. Every building is supposed to have a computer in the main office to clock in and clock out. If you do not have one in your main office, you need to let me know, because there's supposed to be one in there.
We do
So
not
you
have
can
one.
report straight to your office and clock in, because we have to have them
That's
in the
what-
office for the
that's what- Yeah,
substitutes.
because I was under the impression
Okay.
that was every.
We have to have them for the substitutes, because they have to clock in and out. So if your building does not have one, let me know, and we'll
We
make
don't
sure
have
we
one.
get one in there.
You've
The
been
building in
notified.
Spring
there.
Garden
Ruby
does
did.
have
Ruby
it.
did.
Okay. Make a note of that. Yeah, Ruby did.
Chromebook, please.
And it's supposed to be a Chromebook.
Well,
An
and
extra
Drew
Chromebook.
and Lori's here somewhere.
Where'd I leave off?
GPS.
After the dun-dun-dun.
The cell phones are for convenience only. That's all they are. I mean, you should be able to log in. It doesn't matter whose computer's on. Anybody has a computer in the building, you can access the time clock, because it's not designated to any specific person.
What about when they're pinged, like, say she was sent to Office Depot and it was pinged, is that gonna affect her time?
The only time it logs anything is when you clock in, clock out, go on break, come
Unless
back
it's
and
a
break.
smartphone. If they have it on their smartphone, it will ping them.
It may ping, but it doesn't have anything to do with the
It
time
doesn't
clock.
mess with their
It doesn't
time.
mess with the
I don't
time.
think it's part of the metadata that's used to calculate payroll.
So when somebody clocks in from a cell phone, I can go in and look and see where they clocked in at. It'll give me a GPS locator. That's all it does. I mean, it doesn't track them throughout the day where they're at. It's at that specific time when they clocked in, clocked out, went on break, come back from break, it gives me a location. So
See,
whatever it's pinging, it doesn't matter. It's only the specific time.
That's where people were fretting today. Oh my God, they're knowing everything I do in the building.
No, we got the drones on order, but they don't deliver.
That's
And the new
my
update-
point.
Wes said to be
I
real
just heard about
That's
today,
my point when I
actually.
said, those people that are saying that are usually the ones who aren't doing their job.
There's only one for two
Not
employees.
necessarily.
Yeah, that's right. It's only one drone for every 2
99.9%.
employees.
I think some people are just worried about their privacy. I mean, they just don't, I mean, you just don't know. It's like Big Brother watching
Right.
type
Well,
thing.
my
That's what it
concern
is.
was, there's times that Schilling or somebody will send me out to do something, and I'm
Right.
thinking, oh my God, if this comes back and says, well,
Right.
so-and-so is at Office Depot.
We're
instead
not
of-
tracking your movements.
This is,
We're really
Wes
not.
isn't that bored, apparently.
Well, I didn't.
it seems like 1984, but it's not.
Anyway, does that answer all the questions for the time clock? If you
Yeah.
Yeah,
have
it's okay.
questions,
I mean,
email.
I understand and I'm just gonna say this, if you wanted, if you had an employee that you were requiring for part of their job duties, so you could keep, I mean, is that the purpose of that? I mean, I can see a
The
real purpose
GPS
for it.
locator for the phones, and it's only on the phones, it's not
Right.
on the computer
Right.
devices.
Right,
It's just on the
correct.
phone.
That's gonna give you an
It's for
IP,
people that
right.
travel, bus drivers,
Okay.
PAT people especially. So that way, it also helps us verify that they're at where they're supposed to be.
Correct, and I don't have a problem with that, okay, I think it's just a clarification issue that needs to be,
So, I do have a question on this, because I know it's gonna get brought up tomorrow. If you cover a classroom, you have the option to get paid $10 or take a 30-minute comp time pass. Or at least that's how it is.
Well, comp time's going away, so that'll be
Well,
on.
this
Don't
year,
mention
maybe.
those words to us.
I've never heard this.
well, but
Me
it's
neither.
it's not
should be
a,
able to.
Maybe
it's
your
not a
building
comp
is
time where you
different.
get minutes of instruction, it's that extra time that you have to do at the end of the day when all the kids are gone.
Yeah.
That there's a difference.
Is that something the building principal initiated?
For example, I'm required to stay there till 3:30. I work from 7:30 to 3:30. So if I wanted to use a comp time pass and leave at 3, as the kids are going home, then I can't. But how's that gonna work? Because it's gonna show that I clocked
Clock
out
at 3
at home.
o'clock. That's what I said,
No
that
comp
won't
time,
work.
comp time.
So I have 6 of these passes to
You
use
need to
up.
turn in and get paid for it.
I'd sell them on eBay.
Pray somebody buys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little Bitcoin,
I just
maybe.
I mean, that's
That's not
$60
policy
if you
anywhere
have
that I
6
know
of them.
of.
That's $60. Just
I've
like
already
we told the
used-
maintenance department.
I had 12.
We pay you at the end of every
Because
month.
that tells you how many classes that I've covered.
If you word the description right, somebody will buy them.
And if not, make your principal buy them from you because they shouldn't have issued them to begin with.
Well, that was started before, I mean, this has been going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just
an
the way-
incentive for
Before
doing
the-
extra things.
And we just can't get coverage up there. We cannot get coverage, and so he was trying to fix an issue that we had.
It had good intentions.
And it really did. There was no malice intended on this.
No, I know
In
that.
terms
yeah,
of comp
I'm sure.
time, Wes, would you describe for the folks who are eligible to accrue comp time now, how they get paid out for that?
It's paid at overtime rate.
Okay, but I mean, that'll all be paid at the end of the year, correct?
For this year.
Yes.
So this year, when the year's over, it'll all get paid at the end of June for the 9-month employees. It'll be paid in July for all 12-month employees, because we gotta work through the end of June. Then going forward, every hour you work, you're gonna get paid for. It'll be the following month. So when you start back in August, anything that you accumulate over your required workday will be paid out in September. And so on
At
and so
time and a
forth.
half.
Well, not all of it.
Oh.
So if you're
Oh,
37.
yeah, over 40 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time and a half over 40 hours, otherwise it's straight time to 40 hours. So if you work, if you're scheduled at 37 and a half, the first 2.5 hours till you get to 40 would be paid straight time, then after that you get time and a half for the rest.
Right.
So it won't be paid for at the end of that pay period anymore?
No, it'll have to be a delay, because we don't pay, when you're getting paid, you're actually getting paid for a month behind anyway.
Yeah, right.
So
Okay.
we
So
can't
we only
calculate, at the end of the month, the last day of the month, trying to figure out how to calculate everybody's overtime, we wouldn't have the
okay.
time sheets.
I was thinking there was gonna be even an extra month.
No, it won't be an
Okay.
extra month.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
like when you
So
turn in your,
So like
yeah,
it is now?
it's gonna be a 30-day lag,
Okay,
right?
okay,
So you'll work it, and the next month you'll get paid for it.
right, okay.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Can you let everybody know that, or does it go ahead? We'll probably bring it up in the fall, and make sure everybody understands.
I would send out, but it would
As
be
a
in the
refresher.
board minutes. Be in the board
Well, we'll
recap.
probably do some memos, so that way everybody understands about the call.
I would, please do.
Okay.
Because it is
It's
gonna
5:10, 5:11 now.
12 minutes.
I would say for 12 minutes, let's spend our time making a list of items for consideration for next year or possibly next month, depending on if we decide to meet.
Compensation for National Honor Society, class sponsor,
Those were two of mine.
luminaries, is
NHS.
that the other honor? What was that other one? There's another one.
Wait, but that's all extra duty stuff, right?
Yeah, it's extra duty.
They're gonna email you about that
Was
anyway.
that
Well,
was
let's go
Lampion?
Laminaire,
You
whatever.
talking Lampion?
We're the ones taking over the world.
Talking about Illuminati.
We have those.
I am not.
Some sort of cult activity.
Illuminati.
They're the ones taking over the
Luminaire,
world.
like Beauty and the Beast, we just saw that movie, so that's what's.
There we go. I'm like, I don't know.
That's
I was
Lampion is,
unfamiliar.
Okay, let's focus. I think looking at
What else?
additional things across all levels, not just secondary, but also elementary. Yeah, just extra, adding things to our
Yeah,
additional
I
periods.
think we should look at, and I'm probably gonna be shot and never allowed at the table again, but as an elementary person, I think we really should look at student contact minutes, K-12, with, duties, break time. I even know through elementary buildings that different buildings have different amount of breaks based on your number of kids that are in the building.
And extra support duties.
So looking
Yeah,
for equity
yeah.
is what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
That is nonsense.
I don't think I'll be shocked by you guys bringing this up, but I might be shocked by him bringing this up. But I think it was at the end, I tried to look it up today, I went all the way back to February 15th, so it must have been in January, at the end of the meeting, if you remember. I asked that either in the April or May principals meeting, because it was brought up by a majority of you about start time, stop time. When your day begins, when your day ends. And I said, could we take that to the elementary principals, or to the principals meeting? And you said, well, you're not in charge of that agenda, but I
did that
said,
in
well,
March.
okay, so you did take that in March, so they're working on that then, because, I mean,
There was, I think it was an accurate representation to say there was zero support for that. I didn't get a single principal that said, yeah, we could make that work. Is that accurate, Paul?
Yeah, there wasn't one single hand that went up.
Yeah.
No, and
So I did take it, there was underwhelming response. I mean, it doesn't mean we can't, doesn't
No,
mean we can't.
well, and I would say, they're gonna say that, but we weren't asking, can we do it or can we not do it? I didn't think that was the thing. What we were asking was, what would be your input? In other words, do you have 10 minutes? I mean, did they really take time and look at their day? I mean, in that meeting, did you discuss it? Did they pull out their schedules that they're building and
No, we didn't go into
start
that.
time, stop time? I mean, no, we need to talk about it a whole lot more than are you for it or against it? Because that's not discussing the issue and trying to come to a compromise,
We had in the elementary meeting today, a little bit of a conversation about that as we talk
Good.
about multi-tier system of support and how do we wrap around kids academically and behaviorally, and when do the team at the school level sit down and do that work? And it was talked about during the school day, there's not time for that work. And so there is some frustration, if you will, of you can't do that kind of a meeting in 10 or 20 minutes after school. It has to be a lengthier conversation. So,
So you're talking about lengthening the days?
no,
Okay.
I just know that that's something that they struggle with as well, as we have this body of work to do.
Right.
When do we do it?
When do we do it?
I think elementary, I mean, I know
That's our
what you're saying,
life.
but I mean, I think that's, we have that problem too. I mean, with or without the meeting, that's the struggle we all have. When do we do all this work that we have?
Right.
For me, all the time.
What's
Minus meetings, when do we do it?
Right.
Okay, I got it on the list. What else?
We still had that rules of engagement for, we talked about that earlier in the year with, and a lot of support people if you have a student that's out of control. It's still unclear as to what are we supposed to do with kids out of control, legally speaking.
Do we intervene? Do we walk away? What if the trained person is not around?
We talked
They
about
just let
having
him duke it out?
at least one MAT-trained building person per so many teachers.
We don't have
We don't have any now.
I talked with Dr. Kohlhauer about that. She is willing to train an additional 2 people in any building that want to do it.
I let mine expire.
Okay, I mean, that's,
When? For next year, now?
that kind of needs to be probably broad.
I mean, I'm gonna, let's go.
It's gonna throw them around a little bit.
Right now.
Right here in the room, they're gonna move the table.
I will ask
Can I
her to
take
send
that?
out an
Dr.
email
Miller?
inviting people to express whether or not they're interested and then have her communicate
Oh,
with
that'd
them.
be
when they
great,
take-
that'd be
Okay.
good. You know, and then some kind of some rules of engagement, because boy, when you talk to teachers, they just, boy, you know, I'm gonna grab that kid and what can a teacher do? Or a staff
Well,
person?
that's in board policy, Todd. And basically what it says, and what people have
As
been
long as they're
told,
not hurting others,
I
right.
think consistently, is if they're not a danger to themselves or others, it's not a
Don't
good
do
idea to
anything.
touch them.
Right.
Right.
In a fight, what's our obligation?
Your obligation is if you feel like you can separate them without putting yourself in danger, that you do.
But if you think you're gonna be in danger, don't.
You yell at them to stop and send
Right.
somebody to get help.
Send somebody to the principal's office. Then let the principal deal with that.
Can the average adult separate 2
Fire
kindergartners?
Yes.
Can the average adult separate 2 senior boys that both weigh 200 pounds?
No.
Probably not.
That's where you just give it to me.
gets
No,
I remember when we used to get between them and
No, I,
hook the
it's
legs,
just,
sit them to the floor and sat on
it's
them.
something that hasn't been communicated.
That's what we used to be trained to do, way back when.
Put it
I
on
mean,
the
just,
list.
it's
That's what we need to.
start the year next year, that would be a
Okay.
very important thing to know.
Dr. Cross, one of the things I think this group will be important for us is what is our role if the board decides to put a bond issue on the ballot?
Oh,
Are we
yes.
going to, as a group, is that some work that we're gonna be involved in? What does that look like?
Okay, so roll in possible revenue election.
They're
Yeah,
not being
I mean-
paid right now, they're volunteers.
Bridget's got a bunch.
Bridget should have that list somewhere.
Right?
Okay. Other topics?
We
In
talked
Friday
about,
State, you are correct.
we talked about the weight room, payment for the weight room in the off-season. Coaches. I had a couple things.
Yeah, too bad we can't do
Talked about, I talked about with some coaches that had talked to me about looking at our extra duties payment. And I think, Todd, you and I have even talked about this, paying on a percentage basis rather than just paying on where it goes to, year 6 or 7 and then it's done. It pays on like a percentage basis that
A percentage of what?
of
That
their,
into the
of
base
their, of
or-
their base. It have to be their, I don't know if it's base or how it works. I'm trying to think of how Park Hill does it. They pay on like a percent, people like that.
Percentage of the base, isn't it?
Well, right now, ours is a percentage of the base.
Maybe it'd be extending that, like it, I don't know, does it continually grow or are you capped out?
Well, that's what the 3-year bands are. The
Okay.
first band will be X% of the base, the next band is X%.
If the teacher base goes up those percentages.
Those go up.
Yeah.
The dollars change.
So it always does continue to grow past that.
Well, it can if the base changes. If our base teacher pay, it doesn't ever get any higher than 36.2,
Okay.
it doesn't change. But if it goes to 38,
Okay.
then it would, percentage-wise, it would increase.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay, I'm
It's-
just thinking
it's-
for the coach,
Sure.
that coach that lasts 20 years, you know, or coaches 15, which is not very many. I mean,
Until 20 years to get burned out, though.
yeah, not well.
Something
Look
I've
at
heard
me after
mentioned
8,
is
so yeah.
consistency in fundraising on how those monies are handled. This is a sticky item, but
It's very much.
how monies are handled and how they're
Wes has got that all under control.
Okay.
He's
We're working
got
on
a
it.
plan.
We're working on a procedure.
Okay.
Dr. Haynes, myself, the ADs, building principals, we're going to try to work on a procedure.
That's
Dr.
been-
Newhart's already directed us to do
That's
this.
been directed
Okay.
heavily
One-
on all the fundraising and processes.
excellent. Thank you.
One thing Eric and I had talked about after something happened really early in the year at Central was having it's not really inboard policy, I think a true protocol for when a teacher's had a traumatic event happen in their room. Or it doesn't have to be a teacher, that like, when we pulled a young man out,
A crisis response.
like a kind of a crisis
Yes.
response, like for example,
used
we
to have
pulled
teams.
we pulled a boy out that we thought we had knowledge, could have had a firearm on him, had made a reference in the hallway, it had been reported to us, we tracked him, we found out he was our resource officer, thought he saw something on a picture, he bolted, he snatched the kid right out of the classroom. I mean, he was in kind of, it really put our resource officer, and he thought he saw something. He bolted, grabbed him, and then as everything went through, we really didn't talk to that teacher as well as we should have. And that falls on us as administrators and stuff, but then by talking to her more and then talking with our counselors, our social workers, was, do we have people that go check on someone when something crazy happens in their room too? You know, we had a boy throw something at a teacher and I think maybe got kind of smacked her or something like that earlier or later in the year. You know, we made sure we went as a group. Do you need some time? Do you need to go regroup? You know, we checked on them. So that's something I'm thinking of, something
And
that.
the students that were in that classroom and something.
Exactly, and I did actually go back then the next week and talked in front of the class, kind of to debrief everyone a little bit, and the teacher and I had talked, and it helped out a lot. But
Maybe
something that
implementing crisis response teams, because we used to have those in buildings. And I mean, back when we had those, it was more for like storms or natural disasters, but in this day and time, we need to have some sort of core team that addresses those issues on those types of things, because that's more of our reality anymore. Because those kids that are having trauma at home sometimes cause trauma at school.
Yeah.
And so we need to address everybody involved so other people aren't traumatized. And sometimes when something big happens in the classroom, the teacher needs a moment so they can regain their composure and do the best they can. And kids need moments too.
Yeah.
Other items? All right, well, if you think some, feel free to email them to me. I don't know, this may or may not be our last meeting. If it is, I want to thank all of you for your participation and your hard work. I know this is all extra hours for everybody. I do feel like a lot has been accomplished through this process, and I think it'll be a whole lot easier next year because we've got a year under our belts and we know kind of how the process works, what kind of things we can take on, and we'll have.
I'd like to know what your feedback is on this process.
Well, I think as long as it's understood that we're the messengers, and I think that's a real common thing, is that you hear this stuff all the time, and we try to filter it. We don't come in with some of the crazy stuff you hear.
What's some of the others? I talked to these three.
You've always been the messengers. Before United SJSD, you were the messengers.
Yeah, but it wasn't always as public as this. So
Does anybody else have any thoughts?
do you guys like being at this table? Is it worth your time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing because, we don't always get to see, the board members or, Dr. Newhart, Dr. Kraus. So I think it's good that, we feel like we can talk with you and we know you, and so I think in that respect it's good.
Does there need to be anybody else added, any other groups added? I think we have a discussion whether it needs to be literally a Hilliard person.
I beg.
I would resist making the group any larger.
Well,
Just for a reason, yeah.
that's, I don't know, I mean, that's what, I just wanna make sure we got our bases covered though.
I think that you've covered that with Hilliard by just starting a dialogue. And that dialogue's best occurring outside of this group, you know, with the small group. And I think you went exactly the right direction on that with, you know, meeting with them as a group. I think that's perfect what you're doing. So,
Well, this has been a process, it's evolved. I mean, you know, anybody, day one, I couldn't even get MSD and EA to sit down together.
I had to duke it out a couple times in the chairs.
So, you know, it's interesting to see, and that's the biggest thing that I want to get across is that this isn't administrators versus staff. I know many times it sounds like that, but it isn't. It's all of us working together to get to the right, you know, goals. And
the informality's good. In the sense of it's not real super formal, and I think everybody feels comfortable speaking. That's opened up all,
I know,
that's
that's
good.
true. Kudos to Dr. Kraus
Yeah.
for the way he runs it and his humor and his,
Just wait.
well, your wit, and you know, I just think you're hilarious, but no. It does make that not, you're right, it's an
Do you
informal.
know that
feel
when he
free.
was first hired, he had no humor or wit?
He only had one feeling.
We have
Still.
brought that out in here.
He bought it at Walmart.
And I would
I
say,
hired him because he's the only candidate.
You got darn lucky.
That made me the best candidate.
Everybody else was fearful even of that.
well, and as a board member, I certainly appreciate this group. And I think we made strides and I think we went far. I tell people all the time, oh my gosh, if I did, you know, we had such great expectations for what we were gonna do. We were hoping this group would do, but the fact that we've done it and then some is really, really exciting. And to have everybody's perspective, you know, I appreciate that as a board member, so.
Yeah, I think it's great that we all now see the big picture and we're not siloed any longer. So we are becoming a family, a team, and that's the goal, is that we are all one.
It was eye-opening, I think.
What?
Thank you very much. Maybe see you next month, maybe not. Email me if you have stuff.